Your car doesn't start. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. You turn the key again, nothing. And suddenly that number in your bank account doesn't feel solid anymore. It felt fine yesterday, comfortable, responsible. Now it feels temporary. You weren't broke, but you weren't safe either. You thought having money meant stability, but stability disappears. The second one bill is bigger than your buffer. You tell yourself it's just bad timing, but what if it's not timing? What if it's structure? You've built a life that works as long as nothing goes wrong. And that's the part nobody says out loud. You can be earning, saving, investing a little, and still be one unexpected expense away from panic. That's the quiet tension sitting in your chest when you check your balance late at night. You're not afraid of being broke. You're afraid of being exposed because deep down, you know something. If one $2,700 hit can erase months of discipline, were you ever stable or just temporarily untouched? You see $3,000 in your account and feel responsible, grown, ahead of most people, until $2,700 disappears in a single swipe. Car repair, medical bill, insurance deductible, rent increase, and suddenly your good month becomes survival math. You're not reckless. You're not stupid. You just built comfort without insulation. And there's a difference. Income feels powerful. Assets feel quiet. Income moves. Structure holds. You've been celebrating movement, but you never built something that holds. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can increase your salary, get promoted, start a side hustle, and still be fragile. Because fragility isn't about how much comes in. It's about how much shock you can absorb. Most people never realize that. They chase higher income, thinking it equals safety. It equals speed, not safety. And speed without protection just gets you to the next crisis faster. Think about your last paycheck, that little wave of relief, that breath out. That's better. Why does money bring relief? Because you were slightly tense before it arrived. Relief means there was pressure. Pressure means you're close to the edge. You don't feel poor, but you don't feel untouchable either. You swipe without thinking sometimes, because it's fine. You'll adjust later. You'll build a cushion soon. Next quarter, next raise, next year. But you've been saying soon for a while. And time is doing something you're not noticing. It's compounding your fragility, not your wealth. There's a version of you at 30, still earning, still capable, still fine, but still one bill away, still dependent on the next deposit, still watching savings rise, then reset. Is that growth or is that survival with better branding? You don't need more motivation. You need insulation. And nobody glamorizes insulation. It's boring, invisible, quiet, which is exactly why most people skip it. Let's talk about someone like you, 23 years old, decent salary, not rich, not struggling, has $4,000 saved, feels responsible, goes out sometimes, pays bills on time, invests a little, thinks they're ahead. Then the car breaks down, $1,800. Insurance deductible from a minor accident, $1,000. Landlord raises rent, another $300 a month. Within 60 days, the safe account drops under $1,000. Credit card gets used just temporarily. Confidence drops more than the balance. Because the illusion cracked. They weren't behind, but they weren't fortified. Fast forward 3 years, income increased, lifestyle increased, savings grew, then dipped, then grew, then dipped. Still no true margin. Still one disruption away. That's not failure, that's fragility. And fragility doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up as mild anxiety, relief on payday, mental math in grocery stores, avoiding looking at the total, telling yourself it's under control. Because technically, it is, until it isn't. Here's the truth about money that most people never internalize. You don't rise to your financial goals, you fall to your financial structure. When life hits, you don't perform at your ambition level. You default to your preparation level. If preparation is thin, confidence is thin. And you can feel that slight tension, that background noise. That's not weakness, that's margin missing. Margin is the most underrated form of wealth. Margin is breathing room. Margin is not caring when a bill hits. Margin is not checking your account before saying yes. Margin is sleeping through the night. Income creates motion. Margin creates calm. Assets create silence. And silence is expensive. Right now, your financial identity is built on momentum. As long as money keeps flowing, you're okay. But what happens if momentum pauses? Layoff, health issue, family emergency, market shift. You think those are rare. They're not. They're random. And random doesn't care how motivated you are. You've been told to grow, to hustle, to increase streams of income. That's fine. But growth without protection is fragile expansion. It looks impressive until pressure hits. And pressure always hits. Here's another uncomfortable layer. Compounding only works if you survive long enough. If every emergency resets your progress, you're not compounding. You're restarting. You invest a little, withdraw a little, rebuild, repeat. That cycle feels like motion, but it's circular. The goal isn't to be rich. The goal is to be unbreakable. Rich is visible. Unbreakable is internal. Rich can disappear. Unbreakable absorbs. You've probably never framed money that way because social media sells upside, not insulation. But upside without insulation is gambling. Even with a salary, especially with a salary. You've mistaken consistency for security. Just because income arrives regularly doesn't mean risk disappeared. It just means risk hasn't knocked yet. And when it does, it doesn't knock softly. It removes illusion. You don't need to panic. You need to recognize something. Your current safety is conditional. Conditional on health, conditional on employment, conditional on no emergencies, conditional on things staying smooth. How often does life stay smooth? Exactly. This isn't about hoarding money. It's about self-respect, financial self-respect, the kind where you prepare not because you're scared, but because you refuse to be cornered. Discipline isn't restriction, it's insulation. Discipline isn't punishment, it's margin. Discipline isn't boring, it's future calm. Every time you delay building real cushion, you extend fragility. Every time you say, I'll start after this purchase, you're choosing exposure. Not intentionally, but structurally. And structure decides outcomes more than effort ever will. Imagine a version of you where emergencies are inconvenient, not destabilizing, where a $2,000 hit doesn't change your posture, where a rent increase is annoying, but irrelevant, where losing a job would be stressful, but not catastrophic. That version of you isn't richer necessarily, just insulated. And insulation changes behavior. When you're insulated, you negotiate better. You take smarter risks. You walk away from bad environments. You don't tolerate things just because you need the paycheck. That's power, not flashy wealth, structural power. Right now, you might feel stable, but stability that depends on perfect conditions isn't stability. It's momentum with good luck. You're smart, ambitious, capable. That's not the issue. The issue is that your financial foundation was built to operate in ideal conditions. And life isn't ideal, not consistently. Time keeps moving, parents age, responsibilities expand, costs rise. And if your structure doesn't evolve, your stress will, quietly, gradually, until one day you realize you've been earning for years, but never fortified. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. You're not broke, you're functional. But function without protection is fragile function. And fragility hides well behind decent income. The shift isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's choosing margin over momentary dopamine. It's valuing resilience over appearance. It's prioritizing shock absorption over upgrades. It's understanding that wealth doesn't start when you earn more. It starts when emergencies stop scaring you. You don't need applause for this. You need insulation. Because one day something unexpected will happen. Not to punish you, just because that's how life works. And in that moment, you won't care about income growth charts. You'll care about how much shock you can absorb without flinching. So the real question isn't how much you make. It's this. If something hits tomorrow, would you bend or would you break?